Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party, and my buddy Rhett. Here's her little nut. I've slowly been like increasing the way the the plant is sort of draped over her cage. She does not like it. She does not like change. She's never been one to like change. All right, so here we go. We got a lot of things going on. I will say that I'm gonna try this out a little bit. See for now. See if the having it like that might be better for the moment. I don't think it'll always be better, but um, PM start. All right, so I'm kind of going through some stuff right now, right? Because I'm kind of like, first of all, this whole much like Rhett doesn't like change. I guess I don't like change either. I'm still sort of contemplating this whole at service experience. It's just like one of those things you get to like sometimes you're part of the things that are happening around you, and sometimes you're not part of it. And if you sort of disconnect and not really think through it, you're definitely not going to be part of it. But yeah, this at service is in here. I think I like it a lot. I don't have any complaints about it. Keep revisiting it. Also, I'm doing this. Let's see, is this thing up yet? No, I'm doing this sort of refactor, which is I've known is always a very difficult refactor. There's some kinds of things that are just easy to express in the English language, but very difficult to actually do in code. And then there's some things that are pretty easy to do in code that are difficult to explain in the English language. And then there's some things that are just easy to explain and easy to do, and some things that are difficult to explain, difficult to do. I would say in most cases, this is a very difficult thing. It's easy to say, like, okay, we need a refactor, and we have this concept of a group, and the group needs to sit between um, the scene and meshes and all that. And I guess that's fairly easy to say. It's kind of hard to understand. It's a little easier to understand if like you have like a visual, like if you can kind of see it. So you have the 4200 data entities. So you have like sort of and I guess it even makes sense to make this full size too if we're going to be doing this. Um, add viz, right? So we have this concept of a scene, and inside the scene we have mesh IDs. We have a concept of a mesh. But really, I would like to move between 3 and 4. I would, instead of 4 being a mesh, I would like that to be a group, and then inside of the group, it has the meshes. That's what I'd like to happen. Um, and this, through experience, I have learned that this is an insanely difficult task. Um, And what's really weird about it is like if you do it right, it doesn't take very long to do, but if you do it wrong, you can really screw the whole application up for good. Um, like this is one of those poison pill moments where you can really, really create a poison pill. Now, there's a lot going on, and the thing that is hard to deal with is that um, I don't know everything that's going on. Even though I wrote it all myself, I don't know everything that's going on. And this is not an unusual situation. And the thing is like I have literally recorded myself writing every line of code. So I know I wrote this, right? Like sometimes I even question, did I even write that? Because I don't remember writing it, but it's just like I sort of like I don't remember like this morning I was paying really close attention and so I really remember tying my shoes, but most days I do not remember tying my shoes because I'm not paying attention. My brain is somewhere else. I'm or disconnected. I don't know exactly what's happening to my brain while I'm tying my shoes, but you know, there's sort of a there's before I was tying my shoes and after I was tying my shoes. And somewhere in the middle there, I tied my shoes and I don't remember exactly what it is unless I pay very, very close attention. So, and in general, I think it's kind of a healthy thing to be able to just sort of disconnect when you're doing some very, very repetitive task. But like, I think if you're in that, wherever that is, when you're kind of doing repetitive tasks, if you're in that, it's too much time, it gets to be like unhealthy. So, anything, I guess they call that not being present, I guess is another way of putting that. But anyway, so now I'm trying to work through this group situation, right? Where I'm trying to get this group in there. And I don't know why exactly, but I know I need a group service. And the general from 30,000 feet, the job of the group service is to manage the state that describes a visualization in the way I want to describe it. And the main reason is um, that just the way that things are done in ThreeJS are very, very amazing and optimized for building visualizations, 3D visualizations, but they're not optimized for like building a framework around it that lets you like apply things. It's just not optimized for that. There's a lot of inconsistencies and things like that that make it real. I think they're there because that is how the industry wants it and how people that do it like want it. But it's not. It doesn't lend itself to building some sort of other system because there's like weird inconsistencies that aren't really well fleshed out or designed or understood. Um, so it's just kind of like a tool that is just so great for its purpose. You know, it's a tool. It's great for what it's for. It's not great for what it's not for. You can't blame them for that, right? Like that, I respect that. But anyway, so as I was going line by line, in my mesh service, I noticed that we always have we have a dictionary. So we create a dictionary, and that dictionary is strongly typed. So we went and created a typings for that dictionary. I noticed that they always have a recyclable sequence, and that makes sense because if you come over here, that's what this is. This is a sequence that's recycled. So when I delete it and I re-add another one, all the all the all of the IDs start all over and they don't just keep going forever. I have worked in places where we didn't recycle IDs and that the number got so big that um, like you couldn't make it numbers anymore. And trying to refactor that was a nightmare. We did it, but it was a nightmare. So now we know that. So now this line 13, makes sense. Could I have copied it and not thought through it? Sure. Sure, I can. Is that mentally healthy? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist or brain analyst or whatever, like that's not my thing, but I do know that I feel better at the end of the day if I understood what I was doing through the day, and I feel worse at the end of the day if I don't. So, I'd like to feel better at 5 o'clock tonight. So, anyways, what's next? So it looks like our next thing is we actually now inject our three services, and mesh service was one of them. So I feel like at this point it probably makes sense to go over and create a new service for ThreeJS that its job is to be the interface to three, the three API. So that's next. So I like to do it this way. I don't know why, but it's like I've done some interviews where they're like, "Okay, can you build something like this?" And then I start with this. Oh, okay, I'm going to create a package, and then in here I'm going to write what I'm going to do. And a lot of times the interviewer has been like like they're doing a technical assessment of me, and the interviewer will be like, "Oh my God, that's brilliant. I'm going to do that from now on too." So there are people that agree. I've never ever even seen someone try to give me a reason not to do it that way. But the thing that was really nice for me is that when I did this services entities group ST group, and then I saw that the service that was actually created was different than they had been in the past, it was easy for me to go back and look to see how I ran it. Like, was it something I did different or whatever? And that helped me have like a certain sense of calm and understanding that's going on. Um, so yeah, so here is where we created this service. I tried, and it was a three mesh. So now we want to do basically the exact same thing. And I like to get this little comma up here. And then I really wish it used to annoy the heck out of me that you couldn't save like this. Like you can't save the or that you when they first added the ability to in JavaScript to have the trailing comma on the last thing, it drove me crazy. I don't know why. I don't know why that drove me crazy, but it did. Um, and it is so great now because it again, as I say quite often, it really helps with um, why would I have three mesh? Oh, because I wanted it in the mesh folder, and then I wanted it called mesh. So basically, I'm saying generate a service and put it in three in services and put it in the three folder and put it in the group folder, which doesn't exist at this point, and then call it group. So again, there's a perfect example of something I didn't necessarily need. Now, it may not be right. Okay. Okay, that's interfaces for one thing, so that's a problem. So, see, it looks like I changed this folder structure. So services and then entities, I'm guessing. Entities and then three. Okay. So entities and then three and then group. Okay. But it looks like I added another one called native. Three and then native and then group. So basically we want it to show up in here. And then what I need to do is go into my Angular application. And boy, that was a whole like drama because basically I needed to split out my Cypress from my three. And I'm going to say this every chance I get. I think Cypress is the answer, or I don't know about Playwright. Playwright maybe too, but like end-to-end testing is the problem. Okay, that's the problem with software development. Now, I know we're on some weird thing where we've decided to screw up the entire software development industry for 5 years, 6 years, whatever. Maybe we needed as a species, we needed a break. But whenever we decide to get back to trying to actually build software on a large scale, and we get off this stupid AI kick that we've gotten into, um, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. It is a beautiful technology, and I love it, and I use it every day, and I'm definitely better with it. Oh, man, I cannot believe all the dumb decisions everyone's making because of this stuff. And I definitely it was better when it first came out. It was much more effective and much better than it is now. Now it's just a complete mess. Um, And these are kind of truths that like if you ever wonder why I only get 6, 7 views per video, I'm pretty sure it's because I say things like this. But I don't know. I don't really know the overall thing. I have such limited view. But so now I think we're going to see a service decorator in here. Yep, we sure do. So now I have two service decorators. I have my group service. And so I'm probably going to do something along the same lines of this, where I kind of go through and I say, oh, okay, so I know that we use the hash service. Now, the hash service exists so because a mesh is a complex object that keeps the same it keeps the same address, right? So the address to an object stays the same, and then the contents inside that object can change, and it's very, very difficult to determine if you weren't the one who changed it. It's hard to determine if it's been changed. So that's what the purpose of this hash service is so that we can tell if it's been changed, um, because the hash service looks at the actual JSON and generates a hash, and and that's how that works, so that it can determine if there was a change. All right, so we need our inject. So I'm going to put this on 2 lines. Man, I did a presentation at work yesterday, and I mentioned that I like to have these on multiple lines. And the reason I like to have it on multiple lines was because it helps avoid get conflicts. And oh my gosh, everybody went crazy with all the reasons they like to have it on multiple lines. And I have no idea why these things ever end up on one line. Now, because like literally, I've never heard, I've only seen one person ever fight for everything being on one line instead of on multiple lines. And the guy was a moron. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I mean, he was an absolute moron. I don't know if he was, I think he might have been like a hero, like someone who did something very heroic, like in war or something like that. So, like, and I was working for the federal government at the time. So I think, like he got like, maybe he made some huge sacrifice or something like that. But for some reason, he was very, very special. And he seemed like a special guy, like not like he didn't have, he just sucked at coding. And he would just fight and fight and fight for any kind of, always wanted very consistency across all different things. This dude just would not, he wanted everyone to code everything exactly the same way every single time. And just code just doesn't work that way. Anyway, so that's our hash service, and that's why it's there. And I think it's important when I code, it's literally taking 10 times as long, at least, maybe even 100 times as long to go code by line and understand everything that's going on. But it's like good for my mental health, and I'm just doing this for fun, so, and to learn. So, anyways, happy coding, everybody. It's Friday, the 10th of July, as we like to call it in the South. Happy coding, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.